Dealing with different file formats can be confusing, but when you know what their main purpose is and what situation to use them, it becomes very simple. Knowing the correct file format and when to use it can maximize hard drive and archive space, send faster transfers to clients, send smaller emails, maximize quality when uploading to the web. The list goes on and on. In this video, I'm going to show you which file formats I use the most and exactly how I use them. My name's Corey Vanderploeg at CoreyPhoto on Twitter and Instagram. Let's just jump right into it. Raw files. The name really describes it all. These are raw, uncompressed, straight from the camera with no lost quality. These files never enter the client's hands unless they pay a pretty penny for them. I don't do much with raw files other than make sure they're backed up on my archive, and then from any photo editing software, this is where I make my final selects and then open to crop, edit color, tweak, or batch save. But for me, 9 out of 10 times, I'm heading to Photoshop for a full retouch session. Once I'm done editing, it's time to save. I save the exact same time, every single time. I use an action so I only have to click one button to save both a high-res TIFF and a web-ready JPEG, and clients usually prefer both file formats. To see a more detailed video on this topic, check out my video on batch exporting. TIFFs. There are two types of TIFFs for me, flattened and unflattened. When I edit an image in Photoshop, I'm constantly making layers for color, contrast, healing brushes, etc. To maximize complete control over the editing process, I always save layered TIFFs so I can always come back and tweak the necessary layer. I used to save as a .psd file, the native Photoshop file, but I had difficulty saving large multi-gig files. So I switched to TIFFs and I haven't had an issue since. These files never go to a client. Even if a client asks for a more layered file, I simply create a new layer with the final image and just lay that over top of the raw. I have never given out a layered file in my life. The second type of TIFF is a flattened TIFF. This is when all the layers are merged into one final layer. It creates a beautiful, concise, high-res file that most clients need when they ask for high resolution, unless they otherwise specify. JPEG, or web-ready JPEG. Since they're already compressed, JPEGs to me are simply for the web. When you compress a JPEG yourself, you control the outcome. When you upload a high-res file or a large JPEG to Facebook or Instagram, their tools compress it, and the outcome can be very different than what you had planned. For this, I save for web. I've had zero complaints about it. It makes my image look just as good as the high-res version, and it's an incredibly small file size. It makes sending emails way quicker. It makes my website run smoother and faster, and everything I post to Instagram looks flawless. Here's a pro tip. Add 20 points of sharpening to your Instagram photos when you post. It just gives them that extra little sparkle. This is pretty much how I operate. I have all my raw files neat in a folder titled raw. Then I have my exported layered files go into a folder labeled finals, ready to be opened and tweaked at any moment. And in there I have my TIFFs folder with all my flattened high-res TIFFs and ready to print and send to a client at any time. Right underneath that folder I have my web-ready JPEG, sized and ready to email and upload right away. Everything is neat and organized, and I know exactly what file is used for what. The last thing I want to mention is a PNG file. The only other file I use on a regular basis. Because I do a lot of video editing and I need files with a transparent background, I use PNGs. These files are used if you need an object, a person, a face, or anything floating in space. If you delete a background, save it as a PNG and you can open in any editing software with a transparent background. You'd be surprised how often I use this little trick. And that's it. If you want to learn anything else about my workflow, drop a line in the comments. And do me a quick favor and smash that like and subscribe button. I'm Corey Vanderploeg at CoreyPhoto on Twitter and Instagram. Happy shooting.